Alright guys, you're gonna have to ignore the annoying music in the background because some people just have no respect. Anyway, so I know I was hinting at our next project on my Facebook with the tubing that I linked, random fittings and whatever. Anyway, so I know summer's coming, and that's part of our motivation for painting this vehicle white. That's normally not a color I would choose. Certainly not. I do have to admit that looking at it all shiny and white, it looks clean, it's pretty, but it's still not me. But the reasoning behind that is lowering in-cab temperatures when we're racing our car uh, so that I don't get a heat stroke. Race cars tend to not run AC, and most of the other options that I've come across as far as like a vintage air or some kind of custom AC system are extremely expensive and tedious to work with. I don't like dealing with AC at all. There always seems to be a leak or some other frustration, and just didn't want to go down that route. Now, I did look into the swamp cooler things that I would see on classic cars. I was curious if that might be an option, but apparently those things don't work in humid places that have a high humidity. I guess there's just not enough of a difference for there to be the exchange of water or whatever that cools things. So that, and they happen to be very expensive anyway. Most of them are vintage pieces that fetch a very high dollar value. So that was out. So I started researching into the cool shirts that the design for racing. And those systems, although pricey, are not as pricey as running a full or installing a full AC system. So they're somewhere in the neighborhood of, $700 to $1,400 and up, depending on, how in depth you want to get and, how nice the suit is, whether it's just a shirt or a vest or a full body type deal, or it has like some kind of added capability for helmet cooling, et cetera, et cetera. There's a million options and it gets pricey. But the cheapest kit I saw was like a sport kit or a club kit or something like that they called it, and that was like $700. And that's before shipping and everything else. And I'm pretty sure it's adequate, but it's still quite expensive. So I started researching what I can do to make my own. Now I came across a few threads that guys that have kind of like pioneered this or whatever, and I thought I would share some of what I have done or what I'm going to do and the information that I have, and maybe it'll help you guys out in the future. So this 13 quart angle unit here is the exact same unit that is used in the production of the cool shirt system, the more expensive one. And so we're going to use this along with the mcmaster carr stuff that we got here. We got our various fittings. This is like their quick disconnect or whatever. I saved a little money by not getting the dry brake one and just getting a regular quick disconnect. I figure I have no problem carrying a towel in my car when I have to disconnect the lines. Big deal. But if what I'm thinking of works out, I won't need to disconnect this ever. So I don't have that piece yet, but basically I came across some military surplus. They have their own version of cooling systems for soldiers out in the desert that it's very elaborate, has a super high amount of cooling tubes running through the vest, and it's a four-strap Velcro system because I'm assuming it's designed to go over their fatigues or over armor or under armor or whatever, and be removable. It's also made of fire suppressing materials, so there's a safety factor there. But if I can get that to work with my system at the cost that I got it, which I'll confirm and share with you later, then given that it's a vest that covers both the front and back of the body with cooling tubes or whatever, I don't feel like I need to disconnect it from the vehicle ever. I can just take the vest off and leave it in the car. So that's the plan for that. But anyway, this system, so far I'm $165 into this. And that includes the the military vest that I ordered. So when that comes in, we'll test that out. But today we're going to work on building this chest. So $165 is a far cry from $700 to $1,400 and up. So that's the goal here, is to create something useful functional, safe, and cheap. So we're gonna check in as we move along on this project, and hopefully it's descriptive enough for you guys to hopefully copy or mimic if you desire something similar. Mind you, I will put in the comments and the descriptions of wherever I put this video the items that I ordered and their cost breakdown. If you want the dry brake fittings, you're gonna have to add about $30 to $40 to the total cost, so you end up somewhere around 200 bucks, right? Still not bad, right? But to my right here is this thing. This is a VitaWare VitaWrap system. I was just trolling eBay looking for anything that had a cooling system, and I came across this. It was $90 shipped, brand new, mind you, and they have used ones that were cheaper, but I just decided we'll just buy a new one, right? And it basically serves the exact same function, but it's for cryotherapy for people that have bad joints or a bad back or whatever. So it treats injuries. And I must say I'm extremely impressed with the cooling that this thing provides. I do have back issues, and this thing, like, I couldn't feel anything, you know what I mean? It's super duper cold. So it's a very simple system. You lower this latch here. The handle also serves as the locking mechanism. So when you lower the handle, the lid comes off, and you fill it up to here with ice, and then from here to here is water. Very simple. Lasts a while. I did notice that I'm thinking like 2 to 3 hours use is what we'll get out of this, which is no small thing when you're talking about how cheap it is, right? But I believe you could extend that significantly by insulating this outer sheath here. So, get some kind of insulation wrap that you can just tie around it, zip ties, whatever, who cares, just to keep some of that cold in and the heat out. And I'd imagine this would get way more effective. But as is, that thing is fantastic. It's also got a temperature setting up here, so which is kind of cool because this I'll have to hit with a switch or figure out some kind of a thermometer type deal or like a timer to put it on and off, because from what I hear, some people using these things, it'll actually get to the point where they get cold, which I mean, in 100-something degree weather is a godsend, but still. This one though, you can turn it down, and I imagine that just, it'll time itself, it'll turn on every so often. I'd imagine that's what it does. What I do like about this system though is it comes with these dry brake disconnects, so little 2-button deal, and voila, it separates. There's a male half and a female half. They're easily identifiable by the white dots. You just snap them in there. Sorry, can't do this. There we go. And that's it. It's in there. Easy peasy. The hose is fairly long, so I'd imagine I could still plant this, somewhere in the back seat or in the space behind the driver or whatever, or on the passenger side, and still have plenty enough to reach my body. Now, the cool thing about this is I think, I can't confirm yet, but I think that these fittings are very similar to what that military vest I found has. And if so, that's cool, because I wouldn't mind, scavenging the connection for this. But that's that's kind of going down the rabbit hole. I don't really need to do it, but it would be kind of cool. This system here, though, I have yet to test it on in carr. I just tested it in house. When I get around to that, I do believe that it will be enough. The contact patch is a little bit small. I mean, in comparison to the area covered by the shirts, but it's got very, the whole thing chills. So I'm not exactly certain of the design inside the pad, but this is your pad, and it's enough to cover the whole cross section of your back, right? But it chills you down significantly, and what I would like to see is when it starts to warm up here, if I can put this in one of my cars, like my daily, because the AC kind of sucks in my daily, see if this is enough to drop my core temperature down and make just riding around comfortable. And if it is, then it's an extremely cheap and easy solution. I mean, you could cut all of this elastic waist type strap stuff off and just sew it into the back of a t-shirt or something, and have a very effective system that costed relatively nothing almost. I mean, in comparison to the actual setups. I mean, the only thing that I'll have to do is chop the AC cord that plugs in the back and just tap it into the in-car power system. I have a spare switch on my switchboard, and I can just put it right there. Perfect, you know, voila. And the system itself still has an on-off and then the dials and stuff. So I think it would be fantastic and very cheap. So if the temperatures start to go up around the next couple of months or whatever, I'll probably check back in and let you guys know how the stuff is working out, which system is more effective, which system pushed out, you know, more cool water or felt good. Is one better than the other? Is the other one that's better even necessary? You know, we'll find out. And again, I will share all that information with you. Didn't intend to sit here and blabber this long, but like I said, I just thought I would share some options. I mean, this right here, I think is awesome and will do the trick of making driving on a hot track day tolerable. Just that right there, that cheap thing, no messing with nothing. But we can make it better. And so we're gonna try and go this way, you know. I wanted to have a backup plan, you know. If this didn't work out, this, you know, if this didn't work out, this, and then, you know, I figured I'd just share it with you. And seeing as I'm way under budget, you know, with these things as it is, I didn't mind going both paths and seeing which one was more effective and ultimately what I would prefer to go with. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started, and then we'll check back in. So the first step is going to be, we need to get our, sorry, I don't really have the best area right now to work with. My car is taking up all of my workshop space, but we have our bilge pump here. It's going to be permanently mounted in the bottom of the tank, and this is where our pressure, our water pressure is going to come from. So we need to mount this in the bottom, somewhere down here, doesn't really matter where, and then we'll have to drill our holes for the wiring to go through the case. And we'll try to make those as high as possible to keep them, you know, above water level or whatever. I mean, they're still going to be underwater, but you know, it's a sealed unit, and once I seal it with silicone, the holes I make, it shouldn't be an issue anyway. Then we need to drill an output and a return for the fittings that we have in the box over there, and seal that up. And this portion of the build will be pretty much done. Wire this to a switch in the car, and then route the lines towards the front of the car, and, you know, probably overcut it, give ourselves some extra space, you know, to fiddle around with, figure out where we want this thing to begin with, you know. It comes with a very stout strap that I believe I can use as a mount to the car, you know, like I can just bolt a couple pieces of steel with the loop on each end, and then use the plastic tie downs and the strap to hold it, which is pretty much what the professional version does. They have a steel bracket, kind of looks like a battery tray, that they set this thing in, and it uses Velcro tie downs on each end to hold this thing in. And if it's good enough for their, you know, SCCA approved system, and, you know, the tie down should be good enough for us. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the in-chest portions, and we'll get back to you, and I'll show you what we did and try to lay it all out for you. Alright, so here's we are so far. I made a little bit of a mess, lovely styrofoam everywhere. Clean it up later. We drilled we set this bin in here in case we wanted to use it for something, and then made a line, and then drilled our holes beneath that line. So we got our two our feed and our return, or whatever the fuck, one or the other. So those are set in there with silicone. We're gonna let that cure. Don't really care about the little fuzzies in there. It's not gonna affect anything. We use adhesive to plant that on the side. You can put it on the bottom or the side, but I heard that, like, as far as cavitation goes, like air pockets inside the pump, that laying it down on the side works a little bit better. So we're gonna try that. I mean, if it breaks loose, whatever, just re-adhere it. Not a big deal. So we're gonna keep plugging, and we're back. Alright, so we've drilled our power wire holes and just fed them through the tank, sealed it with silicone on both sides. So now we just gotta let all this dry. I don't know how long that's gonna take, but we'll come back in a few hours and play with it, because at this point it's pretty much done. We just have to run well, hook this into its clip and then run a hose. Well, whatever. Run a hose from the output of the pump to here, and then a little tail in here, and then we can run a long loop that goes to these two little doohickeys here. So yeah, and that's really all that's to it. Alright, quick little update. So I will have to update whatever list I put when I do this, upload these videos or whatever, because I ordered the wrong shit on one of the fittings. So this is supposed to be whatever size this is here, but it's supposed to step down to 1/4. So this one's 1/4, this one's 1/2, right? So I had to go out to Ace Hardware and get these two things because they were out of all the plastic stuff. I mean, like, I'd say like 70% of their plastic fittings were gone. So yay. But so this is a 1/2 to 1/4, and like I said, we're already good here. And then I went ahead and got this fitting here, which is 1/2 barbed to this 1/2 inch screw-in fitting, because I noticed that there's this large step here on the outlet, and it that the 1/2 inch hose will not fit over that. So 1 second. Plastic in my mouth. Alright. So I do believe that with a little love, yeah, okay, so that's not going to work either. I still don't think so. Yeah. So we're going to have to find something to jam in there to get yeah, because that ain't how it was done. I might be able to like shave off the threads and, you know, press fit it in there, and then, like, you know, hit it with some adhesive of some kind. We're gonna figure this out. But that's the last little step, and then we'll be done. Alright guys, we're back now. It's been some time, and I've gotten a lot further with the cooler build than anyway, I mean, it's pretty much done. So I'll just have to update you guys on what I figured out from this point forward. Don't mind all the foil and the foam everywhere. It looks hideous, but as soon as that's dry, I'll be sanding that down and flush with the body. I've been trying to track down an issue with heavy exhaust fumes coming into the car, and all the research on this particular vehicle has led me to believe that it comes down to this little square vent that's on the side here on both sides. And if that's open, like, I guess it acts like a pump and just fills your cab up. There's like a little rubber flappy thingy that usually goes there, and I don't have that. On the other side, there were body modifications or cuts to the body because of rust, so I just went ahead and filled that portion with foam to seal it off, and then I'm going to sand it smooth. Here, in any areas that need it, I'll be addressing some more, and then right where this area where the square is, I'll be sanding that flush and then taping that as well, just to be doubly sure, because you know, dying from carbon inhalation on track day sounds like a cruel way to go. Alright, so here's our cooler setup. Now, I'd like to double down and say that Vitapack thing that I showed, that was like a simple purchase. It was like $98. If you have yourself a like a house powered or a car power converter, I think that thing would be more than sufficient to help out and cool you down enough to make a hot track day tolerable. But this thing that I built here is amazing. Now, it's all in here. It's let's see, it's got a single power line going to the front. It's wired to the last switch on my switch panel, and I have these insulated ice packs that I'm going to be using for this. But it's in there. I think I just left it free floating because it's really, the motion is not very much, and I don't think it's going to damage anything having a little bit of motion. Plus, I gave him a little bit extra wire and whatever. And, wow, the water's still cold. I'm gonna pull that little piece of tubing out, but what I was gonna do is hot glue it to the cap there, and then it would keep it stationary like this. But I haven't had any issues yet, but we'll see. I'd like to test it out and see if it's even necessary to fit it. I welded up a little bracket. It's down here. It's got angle iron on the ends, and then a cross brace on the bottom of just flat steel. And then I welded on some thick welding rod to make these little loops here. I don't know if you can see it, but some really thick, heavy-duty straps are going through this tie down for the cooler. The race version that the company sells, and it's the exact same cooler, it's just not labeled, uses these with a cloth strap to hold it in. So this should be more than sufficient if that's a proven and approved system. And I bolted it through the frame with 2 large lag bolts, so it's going all the way through the 6-inch frame or 4-inch frame, whatever, frame rail. So this thing ain't going nowhere. It's got a little motion, I mean barely, but it ain't going nowhere. It's solid. So I ran the lines out in between the seat thing. When you pull them up, it goes right through, no problem. I may move that and go out the little side hole here where some of the wires will run through. Doesn't really matter. Either way, I've tested the system and it functions from where it is. So we ran it to the last switch on the board there. But this is what I was talking about before. This is our military vest. Military cooling vest. It's for like the soldiers and the Humvees and whatever, and they hook up to like a central unit. I was concerned because these shirts have nowhere near as much of tubing routed through them as this thing does. So if it's a single circuit, well, that's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure, and it would take a serious pump to run that, right? Well, what they did was rather intelligent. So in the side here, this is a little Velcro pocket thing. Hang on. So I know I'm blocking the view, but you'll have to bear with me. But what they did was they created a network of branched lines that all tie into a central line. Here you go. So you can see the individual lines here. It's not very clear. Sorry about that. It's kind of hard with one hand. And there's 2 lines, an in and out for each circuit, and they all go into this main line. So it's rather ingenious. It lowers the pressure significantly, and if you look at here, I guess from the inside, you can see how it branches out. So you have all these individual circuits, which keeps the pressure low. Yeah, but so what I like about this is I don't really need quick disconnects for this, even though I have some. They're back there, but because it velcros from the hip here, I can just slide it over my shoulder and then tie it in place. And when I need to get out of the car, just take off 2 straps and throw it over here. Voila! So that shirt there was a whopping $24 shipped. Those brand new are several $100s, and the cool shirts that you get from whatever the company's names are, they're anywhere from $150 to $200 and up, depending on material, sizing, density of the cooling lines, etc., etc., etc. So and what was really fun about this is adapting this vest to my system was as simple as taking off 2 little Phillips head screws from the connector that it came with and just pulling the lines off, right? And then I connected my hang on. Oops. I'll show you guys in a second. We need to fix that. And then I just plugged in my brand new quick disconnects right into the line that the system came with. So, I mean, 2 minutes and I have a functional vest with an incredible amount of cooling density, and it works. I mean, it really works. I went out and bought a very thin shirt. I could wear this directly against my skin, but I really don't want to. Also, you could get a brand new one, and I mean brand new, unused, for $46. So these were part of some military system I'm guessing that they're phasing out, and so they have a ton of overstock. And while these things are available, I would snatch them up because they are awesome. They It's really convenient, and you're not going to get this kind of cooling power out of any of these shirts that they sell. They just don't have the density. They got like one small circuit on the front and one small circuit on the back. Nowhere near as much cooling power. So anyway, if I want to, I can disconnect these. They are not dry brakes. I went ahead and saved myself some money there. I mean, I figure the worst of the worst, just put a towel in the car when I pull them apart. But the lines are long enough that I can actually step out of the vehicle with this thing connected to me, and there's no fuss, no muss, and that's in that way. I've had no problems with getting air out of the system. Just turn the pump on, and everything flows as it should. Matter of fact, I guess I'll plug it in so you guys can see, and you really don't hear it all that badly. I'm still waiting on my race disconnect from Bell Racing or whatever. I have to say I'm really not pleased with the company. Like they have not done well with staying in contact with me. I've probably sent them like 10 emails or whatever asking what's going on. It's been a month, and all I purchased was an item that, as he described it in one of his replies, is off the shelf. So I'm not sure what's going on. Tracking number doesn't work. He's not responding to me. It's very frustrating, and I mean, it was only like $100 or whatever, but still, that's my money. I worked for that, I mean, if you're not going to respond to your customers to get them their product, I mean, at the very least, just refund me and call it good, right? Anyway, I don't know the man. I just don't like the way that they're running their business at the moment. So, and I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's pretty quiet. I mean, the fuel pump is significantly louder. That's the fuel pump, and that is our cooler. Right now it's running, and yeah, I can already feel just from the semi-cold water, I can already feel that it's cooling. This thing works very quickly. It takes about 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes for it to reach like maximum cooling. Flush out all the old water and get the really icy stuff in there. But with just a couple cups of ice, it's extremely effective. And I'd imagine that I may even need to get a timer or something like that for this, because I was getting very cold, core-wise. So you can see no problems. There's no leaks. And I'm very pleased. I mean, it was very simple. Didn't require any special tools or whatever aside from the drill. To put the tank together. I mean, this part was all just press fit. Just a matter of ordering the correct stuff, which I will try to put the correct listing on there, because one of the fittings I messed up on, I had to adapt. But anyway, with any luck, ow! God damn it! I always hit my head on stuff. Woo! That's gonna leave a mark. Anyway, with any luck, I'll be hitting my first event this weekend, and we'll get to see how it does in action. Oh, God, that hurt. I don't know. You think I would be used to it or aware of it, but whatever. Anywho, we'll check back in with you guys later. Let us know what you think.